Was I totally wrong about the new electric guitar from Fesley? Hey guys, welcome back to the Bald Shredder channel. So yeah, you might remember very recently I did the full review and demo of the new sort of Les Paul or Eclipse style electric guitar from Fesley. And I did have a few issues with it. First up, the size of the frets. Okay, now this is definitely a copy of the ESP or LTD Eclipse guitar, not the Gibson Les Paul. This is a copy of the Eclipse. If you look at pictures of the ESP or the LTD Eclipse, and it looks essentially just like this. And it is very much a heavy metal or hard rock guitar. And what size frets does ESP put on those guitars? Of course, extra jumbo. And again, that's because it is designed to be a hard rock or heavy metal style guitar. The second issue was the gap in the neck pocket, and if you remember, I stuck a guitar pick in there and it fit all the way in there. And then the third issue was the bridge piece right here, which in the video I said it was on backwards, and I took it off and I flipped it around, and then I was able to get like proper tuning and intonation on it. Well, since then, guys, I've had some really good conversations and communications with the guys over at Fesley. And it really is good news overall for me, for you guys, anybody that's interested in this guitar brand. Because what it shows is that they are willing to listen. They're willing to communicate. And when I read to you what their responses are, I think you're gonna have like a fair amount of like confidence in the company and the future of this company. They're not looking to just be like a flash in the pan and release a few guitars and then they're gonna disappear and you're never gonna hear from them again. No, that's not the case. They want to be around long term. They want to make good instruments, quality instruments that people are going to like, of course at affordable prices, and that's their goal, and I think they're going to get there. They're well on their way to getting there. Now, regarding the fret size, guys, I just kind of assumed that they didn't really put much thought into the size of the frets that they're putting on the fretboard. I kind of thought like, well, they're just using the same size frets that they put on their Strat or their dinky style guitar because, well, that's what they had at the factory, and they just thought, oh, a fret's a fret, so we'll just put those frets on this new guitar because that's what we have. And I just thought, like, they probably didn't put any thinking into it, you know, no analysis of as far as like what size frets should go on what kind of guitar, but it turns out that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm totally wrong about that assumption. So right after I did the review video and I uploaded the video, I sent an email to Fesley to tell them about the size of the frets. So I got my phone here and I'm gonna read to you the response that I got from the technician, from the builders, from the designers, the people that are making these guitars, and so we can understand why they put the frets on there that they did and what they're gonna do in the future. Our research and development has taken on board your suggestion, and the next batch of LP electric guitars, the one from this video, will have a 2.7 millimeter fret. So that's gonna be a much larger fret, guys. Regarding the fret, our original concern was this: the larger the fret, the better the feel of the strings. Yes, which is good for beginners and speed players. Speed player. But the disadvantage is also obvious. The dynamics and brightness of the tone will be reduced, and the smaller the frets, the better the dynamics and the brighter the tone. Fender is using the typical small frets, and we initially chose the small frets with this in mind. We will definitely prefer larger frets for our subsequent hard rock and metal products. And we will take your advice and replace all of our LPs with larger frets next time. Okay, so that's great news. Now, I don't necessarily agree with what they were worried about as far as like the dynamics and the tone and stuff with the larger frets versus the smaller frets. And that might be the case, like they mentioned Fender. But okay, when you think Fender, you're thinking like Stratocasters, Telecasters, and those have single coil pickups, which are much weaker. They don't have the same like high output as like a good humbucker that you would expect to have in a hard rock or a heavy metal guitar. So I think that's really not an issue as long as the pickups are decent. But anyway, yeah, they're gonna be switching over to the larger frets in the new batches. But hold on, guys. don't get too excited because these new batches take quite a while for them to go through like the production process and then the shipping process and then be available on Amazon. It'll probably be several months at least, I'm guessing. In fact, this is exactly what they said in the email. However, there is a long period of time that goes by between the submission of the proposed changes and the buyer getting their hands on it, meaning like if you want to buy it on Amazon. So it's going to be quite an amount of time. All the colleagues in charge of Fesley saw your advice. The developers, the operators, and the boss. We all saw it and thanked you very much, which is comforting. Okay, so once again, great news for guitars coming down the road, coming off the production line in the future. Hopefully not too long, but we'll see. But for sure, on that guitar, like it's an Eclipse style hard rock metal guitar, it needs the big jumbo frets. And maybe they'll have some other hard rock and heavy metal style guitars coming up. I do know for a fact that they have new models in the works. So it's not gonna be just these two guitars from Fesley. They've got other stuff coming down the line. In fact, guys, another really cool thing that they've just started to do, and I think they realized, hey, we need to do this based on the different reviews that that guitar has been getting on YouTube. They need to have some communication with reviewers, guitar players, guys like me and other guys that, you know, can really take a close look at the guitar. Rather than waiting to get our opinion after the guitar is already released and it's on Amazon and you guys can buy it, well, at that point it's too late to change it, right? Unless, yeah, you can change it, but it's gonna be months down the road before anybody sees those changes. So now they've decided to reach out to me and other guys like me, other YouTubers and influencers, and talk about the guitar in the early stages, in the planning stages, before they've even made it. They've shown me like a blueprint and a list of specs on a new guitar that they're working on and that they're gonna be producing soon. And they're asking me and asking other guys, what do you think about this? Do you like these specs? Does it sound good? Is there anything that you would want to do differently? Anything that you want to change? And it seems that they're really open to hearing the opinions of us guys now, which is good. Because, you know, if they had done that to begin with on the new Eclipse style guitar, then I would have told them from the get-go, you need jumbo frets on that, extra jumbo frets, and then maybe that whole thing could have been avoided. So it's really good news, guys, and like I said, it's giving me a lot more confidence in Fesley. Okay, now, what was I wrong about on the guitar? Well, according to Fesley, I was wrong when I said that this bridge is on backwards, or that it was on backwards. The way that they are putting them together on the factory is that they're having the screws up here where you would adjust the little saddles. They have them on the bottom side, and I switched it around to put them on the top side because I said, oh, it's backwards and it won't intonate unless it's flipped around. Well, we're gonna do a little experiment to see if they are right or not. In just a second here, I'm gonna loosen the strings, I'm gonna flip that around, I'm gonna adjust the saddles, and then I will see if it's intonated or not. But first, I wanna read you the email that came from the engineer, the designer, the builder, and what he had to say about that. About the bridge, the module in the middle of this split fixed bridge has no positive or negative. One side with screws and one side without. American brands such as Gibson, Epiphone, etc. have the screw side towards the pickup position, while Japanese brand LPs have the screw side towards the tailpiece. The advantage of this is that it is easy to use a screwdriver to adjust the octave of each string and the effective string length. But if the screwdriver is facing the pickup, it will be difficult to align the screws. We also did a lot of testing before choosing the Japanese practice of facing the screw side towards the tailpiece. This is by no means a manufacturing error. We guarantee that the octaves and effective string lengths are accurate. It's not mounted backwards. We have other considerations, and that's why we wanted to discuss this with you. Okay, that sounds all good. And guys, I have to say that reading that, it does sound like they put a lot of thought, they experimented with it, they did their research, they checked it out, and it sounds like they really know what they're talking about. But let's see if it really works that way. All right, guys, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna play a 2-note G chord with the open strings, the D string and the G string, like this. Okay, Okay, now I'm gonna play it up at the 12th fret. Still in tune, right? Intonated. Because when it was on the other way around, and when I did come up to the 12th fret, like it was in tune here. But then when I played up here, it was way out of tune. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a picture of the bridge so I can see exactly where the saddles are, and then I'm gonna loosen the strings, I'm gonna take it off, I'm gonna flip it around, then I'm gonna adjust the saddles so they're exactly in the same position from the picture that I'm about to take. Then I'll tighten back up the strings, tune it up, and then we'll see if I get, or if it sounds out of tune. Let's do it. All right guys, I'm back. I have taken the bridge piece off, I flipped it around, I adjusted the saddles to match the picture as closely as I could. I tuned up the guitar, and now I'm gonna play those same two-string G chords, and we'll see if it sounds in tune or out of tune. Here we go, fingers crossed, starting with the open strings. And now coming up to the 12th fret. It's in tune. Let's play a little bit more. Let's just play a little bit of rhythm here. Okay, so yes, they were correct. I was wrong. I should have played around with it a little more, or maybe I should have done a little bit more research. You know, I can admit when I was wrong, and yes, in this case, I was wrong. So actually the bridge can go either way. So my absolute sincere apologies for Fesley for saying that the bridge was on backwards. That was actually some advice that I received from somebody else, and I think in some cases on certain guitars, the bridge can be on backwards depending on the saddles and the size of the grooves where the string goes. They might have bigger grooves for the bigger strings, and so it has to go a certain way, but that doesn't appear to be the case on the Fesley guitar here. So, whether you have the screws facing down or you turned it around and you have the screws facing up, it doesn't matter. It's totally fine as long as you've got the saddles in the right place, and then the intonation and the tuning's gonna be all good. And then the other issue, guys, is the gap in the neck pocket. And that's just kind of a quality control issue. It's a manufacturing issue where the neck pocket was just cut a little bit too wide, right, for the neck. And again, they've assured me that they're gonna be on top of that quality control. And based on the other reviews that I've seen on YouTube and other people that I've talked to, I haven't come across or seen anybody that had as big of a gap as mine did. I've seen maybe one or two other people that had a pretty small gap, but not like me. And then I've seen other people's where there was like no gap at all. But again, they're gonna be on top of that. They're gonna be doubling down on the quality control. And, you know, based on everything that they've told me, and that they're now working with us and checking with us on their new models coming up and getting input from me and other guys like me, it just makes me really excited for the future of Fesley guitars. All right, guys, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.